What might the Cowboys do at picks 12 and 20? We'll tell you next.
You are Locked On Cowboys, your daily Dallas Cowboys podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Cowboys podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We'd like to thank you for making us the #1 sports podcast network. I am your host, Marcus Mosher. He is Landon McCool. And on today's show, we are doing our first mock draft simulator of the 2026 draft cycle. I can't believe that it's taken us this long to get to this, but we've had a bunch of news. I feel like now, Landon, with free agency just a couple days away, we're after the combine. This is when like the mock drafts really start to heat up. You start to get some accurate information.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is a good time to run through this exercise.
Yeah, it's mock draft simulation season. I think that there's a defined season. I think it definitely really kicks into gear after the combine. Obviously, everyone's feel free to do the simulations before then, but really it feels like combine is like when you've hit like that threshold of, okay, we've got most of the hay in the barn. Even with the combine being the situation as it is now, it just feels like you have a certain amount of information, whether it's rumors or whatnot, to be a little bit more well-informed and a little bit more ready to run through these things. So it's time to get ready. And I know we've been getting a lot of requests, so I'm thrilled to kind of finally get to this.
So if you're listening to this on audio, we will try to run through the players that are available, the players that are off the board. If you're watching with us on YouTube right now, you can see that we are using the Pro Football Focus mock draft simulator. And let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to slow this thing down a little bit so you can see who's off the board. But at pick #1, we've got Fernando Mendoza. At #2, we've got Caleb Downs. 3 to the Cardinals is Ruben Bain. 4 to the Titans is Jeremiah Love. 5 is David Bailey. 6 is the offensive tackle, Francis Mowaga. 7, Sonny Styles to the Commanders. Ooh, that one hurts. You've got Carnell Tate at 8 to the Saints. Arvell Reese, 9 to the Chiefs. Maybe in a different simulation, we would be trading up to get Arvell Reese, but that's not the case here. Keldrick Falk to the Bengals at 10. And then Jermod McCoy at pick #11. Before we even get to the available options, what's your take on this top 11?
Well, my first take just immediately is, man, when that pick goes up and the 11th pick from Miami goes up, I bet everyone in the Cowboys war room is screaming with happiness, I assume, because I think they're not interested in McCoy. And the fact that Mansoor Delane is still available to them at 12 is a huge win. But I agree. I think the first thing that kind of really stuck out is Arvell Reese ended up falling quite a bit. And if he did fall anywhere within 7 or 8.
Honestly, I think past 5, you're having a conversation. And I think the good team to do that is with the Browns at pick 6, because the Browns aren't going to draft a defensive player with #6. They're loaded on defense. They need to draft an offensive player. And we've talked about maybe a trade of 12 and 20 for 6 in maybe a second round pick or something like that. I think that's what you'd have to consider. Now, in this mock, we're not doing that. We're just going to play it out.
Yeah.
For you, the top players on the board, I'm gonna let you kind of run this board. Makai Lemon, the wide receiver from USC. Mansoor Delane. I got some confirmation on that, by the way. Mansoor Delane.
Okay, great.
Yep. Caleb Banks, defensive tackle from Florida, who I know you are a huge fan of. CJ Allen, Dillon Thieneman, a guy that has really risen up the ranks. Wow. Avion Terrell, Akeem Mazador. What's the first thing that stands out to you?
I think that the obvious answer to me is Mansoor Delane. Was it Mansoor Delane? You said? I'm sorry?
Mansoor Delane, yes.
Mansoor Delane. Okay, I want to get that right. Mansoor. I think that the name that immediately stands out is Mansoor Delane, that he made it through to 12. You don't always get the opportunity to draft him when you do these things. I think, to me, he seems like an easy fit because he's the guy that is worthy of a 12th overall pick. I think with what you've seen on tape, he isn't a perfect candidate. Obviously, he's maybe a little bit undersized. He didn't do any of the testing. We'll see how that turns out. He looks fine as an athlete. He doesn't look like he has any kind of issues there, but he is extremely heady, extremely experienced. We're seeing right here, he's played somewhere in the area of what is that, 2,000 snaps so far in his college
there,
career.
Yeah.
I just think he just shows you a guy that has played multiple types of man coverage and zone scheme, and has been successful doing it at the highest end level. He's elevated through the levels of college football and had success everywhere he's gone. I love the tape, and we're a big fan of him. He would be a much higher pick if he was like 2 inches taller, 10 or 15 pounds heavier. Like, I think he would be a top 5, top 10 pick in this draft specifically.
And for me, this is a pretty easy pick if he's on the board. But I think we should mention that you do have Mekhi Lemon on the board here. We wondered and speculated that, hey, if there's a receiver at 12, maybe that could entice a team, like the Jets or the Ravens, or, one of these teams in the late teens or 20s to come up and make a trade, because, there's been some speculation that maybe the Rams would be interested. Obviously, the Jets are one of those teams. But right now in this mock draft simulator, you don't have a team that's willing to come up.
Yeah.
I think you're just sitting here and you're picking because you feel pretty good that either Jordan Tyson's going to fall, Denzel Boston. So no trade options here in this mock.
Yeah, I think the other considerations. I mean, if you scroll down just a little bit, I think CJ Allen I like, but I think that's a little bit high for him. I'm a big Thienemann fan. Obviously, I mean, I think I would take him at 12 if Mansoor wasn't here. I think he's probably would be my first choice there. Messidor is another guy I certainly wouldn't be upset with. I think 20 is where I'd rather be getting him. Terrell is another guy I think that should be considered here.
Can I ask you about Avion Terrell, the cornerback from Clemson? Because Mansoor Delane and Terrell are both undersized corners. Now, Delaine is slightly bigger, but Terrell has a ton of ball protection. He's been really good for the last couple seasons. 3 straight great years of at least a 77 grade. He's awesome as a run defender. And if you're going to pick one of these two guys to be a slot corner right away, I honestly trust Terrell more. How close are these two players for you?
Well, I think you open a really sticky wicket here by talking like that, because if you want to talk about which guy in this little group we've got here that is the best at playing the nickel, I think it's Thienemann, because he's a bigger player. He's a better tackler. I think he fits better in the Christian Parker defense than if we're playing, just with slot, right?
It's different because I don't disagree with you, but if you want somebody to be like man to man matching up against the receiver,
then we're picking Mansoor Delane, right?
Well, I mean, yes, but I also feel the best about AJ Terrell in the slot covering one-on-one. I feel the best about Delaine as an outside corner. I feel the best about Thienemann as a more versatile player. So how do you pick between those three?
I think that's the problem for Terrell for me in this situation specifically, right? Because if we're talking about playing on the outside, I want Mansoor. If we're picking in a boundary corner, I want Mansoor. All right, if we're picking a slot guy in this defense that we're going to have, I want Thienemann. So even though I think that Terrell is probably a better and higher rated player than Thienemann is, right? He's not as high as Mansoor and is not as versatile. I think he can play on the outside. I think that's not fair. I don't want to label him as an inside only guy, but I think if we're talking about playing a boundary corner, drafting a guy that we're going to play on the outside, I think that's where Mansoor would have the preference. And then if we're talking about an inside guy, that's when I would kind of like be going towards Thienemann. So honestly, I think all three of these guys, I would need, none of them would be a bad pick at 12, to be honest.
All right, so we are down to our last couple seconds here. Who are you picking? I'm giving you the final say here.
Let's do Mansoor. I think it makes sense. I think he's the highest rated of these guys, and he has the flexibility to play inside and outside if you need him to.
And I just think he's the best player available. Yeah. I think that's where you're getting the most bang for your buck. I think you can still find a slot corner later in this draft if you need to. You can move Deron Bland inside. I love Mansoor Delane. But now what do the Cowboys do at pick 20? Is there somebody that can fill that role as a slot corner? Do you go out and try to get a linebacker? What about your pass rush needs? We'll get to that next. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. March is a time to celebrate women, especially around International Women's Day, and to recognize just how much they carry at work in relationships and families and all the unseen roles that they step into every single day. It's easy to celebrate that strength, but it's just as important to make space for their emotional well-being. And honestly, that goes for all of us. And I think for me, I mean, my wife is unbelievable. I know I need to tell her how much I appreciate her more, but she does so much. She carries our family. She takes care of all three of our children. She does a fantastic job of keeping everything going, and I appreciate her. And I know that she's used therapy several times throughout her life to help maintain balance. And therapy can be great for all of us. And that's why BetterHelp is here to help us out, even through the tough times and through the good times, because your emotional well-being matters. Find support and feel lighter in therapy. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/lockedon. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. Welcome back to the Locked On Cowboys podcast. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen every single day. Free agency is here, and so are we. Get 1 month free of the Everyday Club with code free agency, no spaces, through March 15th. Go ad free and keep the conversation going on Discord, and join the club at lockedoncowboys.supercast.com with promo code free agency, all one word. All right, Landon, Mansoor Delane at pick 12 are feeling great. The Cowboys got, to me, one of the top 10 players in the draft at a really important position. And I don't want to say pick number 20 feels like gravy, but it does feel like if you get that corner in round one, it really opens up the board for you here at pick 20.
Man, I think 12 is definitely the pick I'm the more concerned about, because it just feels like at 20, you're going to have a lot more options at the value point that you're looking. So I'm hoping that's the case when you revealed this board, because I haven't seen it yet. So, but I'm assuming that we're going to have a lot of good options at 12. I'm not so certain. There's definitely opportunities where the Cowboys could get wiped out to a certain degree. I didn't view what we went through at 12 as a wipeout situation. I would be happy with Mansoor Delane.
All right, so let's see what's on the board here at pick 20. And boy, did this work out well for Dallas. Dillon Thieneman, the safety from Oregon, is there. Now, we could obviously, we were considering him at 12. I don't think it's a stretch to see him here at pick 20. Can you take two secondary guys with your first two picks? We can have a conversation about that. There's also Spencer Fano, if you wanted to address the offensive line. There's TJ Parker. There's Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, if you want a different type of safety, more of a physical, imposing guy that can also be your free safety. You have Peter Woods if you want more defensive tackle help. And then it drops off quite a bit. So I think the conversation is Dillon Thieneman, or that's probably it.
I mean, that's kind of who I would pick. I mean, to see him here at 20 again is pretty great. I think, and there were some people actually talking about this. John Owning posed a question on X today about whether people would take Thieneman or Terrell as their nickel. And I remember you answered and I answered, and obviously on different sides, we kind of broke it down in the first segment. But I do think that, it was great to see Cody Alexander chime in a little bit and kind of help define that, the situation. If you go and look through a lot of these Fangio playbooks, there's just not a lot of situations where you have the nickel playing pure like man coverage, like man everywhere he goes coverage, right? Like I think that what they're looking for, the prototype, is a bigger, not a linebacker, but someone who is that kind of that connecting tissue between the second and third level, right? And you think about how more modern defenses are trying to play more nickel, and the way that they're achieving that is by playing this kind of gap in the half scheme that the Cowboys are moving to, and then by having a bigger body in the nickel spot who can be more physical and add some elements there. I don't think, we've talked about this too. This isn't necessarily like Thienemann's not necessarily as physical as McNeil-Warren, but I think he's a better fit in playing the position that he would specifically be playing, and he could play some safety for you. And for those reasons, I think I would take him here, because I just think now suddenly you've got a very young, versatile group of defensive backs. You got three guys who can play kind of inside and outside. I just think it gives you a whole bunch of options.
I mean, I agree with everything. This would be a fairly easy pick, but if you're playing devil's advocate here,
Yeah.
you're drafting 2 secondary guys, and that is traditionally a position, corner and safety, that takes a little bit of time to get up to speed to the NFL. And you're really ignoring your front seven. All of your work that you're going to have to do on your front seven is going to have to be in free agency. And again, we don't have the benefit of knowing what they're doing in free agency. So if they don't sign Nakobe Dean in free agency, your linebacker core is going to be really weak. And if you don't bring in a big time edge rusher, that part of it's going to be an issue as well. The only thing I wanted to present to you is in this mock, we did have a trade offer from the Los Angeles Chargers, who are only 2 picks behind. The trade would be picks 22 and I believe, 22 and 86. So it would give you a 3rd round pick, another top 100 selection, just to move down 2 spots. There's a chance that Thienemann could be there, but even if he's not, maybe that's where you grab an edge rusher like TJ Parker or R. Mason Thomas, or maybe this is where you grab a linebacker that you really like. We're going to talk about Jacob Rodriguez and Anthony Hill in the next couple of days. Is there any interest in looking at a potential trade here for you?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, that's my first choice. I mean, especially a small trade down to 22, you pick up a 3rd round pick. Yeah, let's do it.
So my question for you in this one, let's say you miss out on Dillon Thieneman. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
How big is the drop off for you in Dallas if you go with Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, knowing that you drafted Mansoor Delane? Now, McNeil-Warren is not a slot guy, but you did draft Delaine, and maybe that makes it a little bit more palatable to kind of draft a safety like this.
Yeah, I mean, I think the value aspect comes into question because now I'm having to weigh that against TJ Parker, to me, who I think is a really interesting pass rusher, and I think really looked good. It was one of the guys that was of that body type situation, like the Cassius Howells, the R. Mason Thomases, that separated himself from that group with longer arms and with really good testing. He had a good combine. So to me, I think at that point, without Thienemann, without the opportunity to kind of have somebody in that star position, now we're talking a pure safety. To me, I think that now we have to weigh positional value here at 20. And if the trade goes through, like
let's do it. Let's see. So it goes through. The Cowboys now move down 2 spots. They pick up a 3rd round pick. It's tough to miss on Thienemann at 20, but there's also not a guarantee that he wouldn't be there because the Chargers are trading up for Jordan Tyson, a wide receiver, to jump Pittsburgh. That makes sense because Pittsburgh's got a lot of ties with Jordan Tyson, including Hines Ward coaching him at Arizona State. Pittsburgh takes Denzel Boston at 21. And then there you go, Landon. Dillon Thieneman available to you at pick 22, right in front of the Eagles.
It's beautiful. It's a tear to come to my eye the way this played out. We got it all on camera too. So, I think let's take Thienemann here, and now we've got another pick to play with.
Yeah, now we've got 2 more picks that we can play with. We've got pick 86 and a 4th rounder. We will get to both of those selections next.
Hey, it's Matt Derry from the Locked On Lions podcast. The people I love depend on me. If I'm gone, the financial responsibilities don't disappear. I didn't want my family figuring things out during the hardest moment of their lives. That's why I knew only one place to go. I chose life insurance through my friends at Ethos. Ethos makes getting life insurance fast and easy, 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. There's no medical exam. You just answer a few simple health questions. You can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $30 a month. I love the folks at Ethos. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos now by going to ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. In as little as 10 minutes, you can get the free quote and up to $3 million in coverage at ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. That is ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. Ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. Application times and rates may vary.
Welcome back to the Locked On Cowboys podcast. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen every single day. All right, Landon, we got a bonus pick. We were not anticipating having a bonus pick here, but now the Cowboys are on the clock here at pick 86. Before we even get to the players that are on the board, what positions would you be targeting now that you got your slot defender / safety and cornerback?
I would see what edges are available. but I mean, I think I'm not going to be necessarily. Yeah, I mean,
The names, by the way: Anthony Lucas from
sorry,
USC, Tyreek Sapp from Florida, Jayshawn Barham from Michigan, Nadami Tucker from Western Michigan. It's pretty gross. Like, there's nobody here that you would draft that you think could probably be a top 3 guy in your rotation.
No, you would hope that someone like Lawrence or would have fallen, but yeah, it doesn't look like it's playing out that well. Maybe we should look at linebacker, because honestly, that was my other thing. Is I think this is still a really good spot to potentially get a linebacker, and it looks like this is a pretty good group, at least decent. We got Deontay Lawson from Alabama, Kyle Lewis from Pittsburgh, who we've talked about a lot, Taurine York from Texas A&M, who's kind of another undersized, very fast linebacker. Aiden Fisher. I mean, these are, but the problem is that falls off really quickly. And if you don't necessarily love the fit of Lawson or Lewis, I don't feel like, Taurine York is necessarily worthy of the.
Well, let me ask you this: do you think the fit of Kyle Lewis, who came in, I think he grew a little bit at the combine. He's not 6'1". I think he's 6 foot 221 pounds or whatever. So he's small. But are you okay taking a nickel linebacker here at pick 86?
I mean, because it's a bonus pick, maybe. Let's see what else is back there real quick, just because I think he's probably top of my list, but it's not like jumping out at me.
So, like, if you wanted to go to a different position, defensive lineman, there are a couple guys, including Daryl Jackson Jr., who is a massive defensive tackle from Florida State, who I like quite a bit. Overall, there are a couple receivers. There's Jennings Dunker, if you want an offensive lineman. I don't know how well he fits into this scheme, but I'm a fan of his. Deion Brooks, a wide receiver from Oklahoma, I like quite a bit. Zakee Wheatley, a safety from Penn State, but I don't think you can take a third defensive back. Genesis Smith, a really good free safety option. It's pretty rough here in round 3.
Yeah, so I think probably, unless, in this situation, I probably would even try to maybe trade back a little bit and maybe pick up more picks. But in this case, I think, honestly, let's just go ahead and take Lewis. I like him a lot, obviously. I just worry about the fit with Overshown, right? Just having 2 kind of undersized linebackers. But in this system where you're playing a gap and a half, you're a little bit more protected. Maybe you support something like that.
We should also mention Overshown is in the last year of his deal, and he has not been the most durable player. So maybe you fill in that weak side linebacker spot. Shamar James in whatever free agent signing, occupy the Buck linebacker in a 3-4, and that's just kind of how you roll. It's not ideal, but at least you have more athleticism there. Let's finish this out here at pick 112. Again, now that you've addressed linebacker, you've got your 2 corners, or you got your corner and your safety. You can kind of just take whatever you think is the best player available. There's some really interesting tight ends. If you want to take another cornerback in Traden Stukes from Arizona, that's an option as well. What positions are you looking at?
Well, I kind of look at running back here or tight end if it's going to be a wide receiver. It's going to be an offensive player. And look here. This is a great spot to pick a running back, because I'm thrilled to pick a Nicholas Singleton or a Jaden Ott or a Katron Allen. Honestly, Le'Veon Moss too. Like, I would pick any of those guys in the 4th round. I love Mike Washington enough that I wouldn't hate taking him here. But I think I would definitely pick a guy that I felt like had a little bit more dynamic element to his game, so you could kind of play him off Javonte Williams a little bit. I think Singleton, I think Ott, I think those guys really fit the bill for sure.
Yeah, and maybe Singleton, I think, had a chance to go higher in the draft if he didn't break his foot at the Senior Bowl. I think he would have dominated the combine. And in round 4, I think this is kind of an on-value pick, but he is a freak athlete, and you bring him along slow. And maybe with Javonte Williams and Jaden Blue and Phil Maffa, he doesn't have to have a big role early in the season, but this is a guy that you take a chance on betting on the athleticism.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a guy that a year ago we were talking about potentially being a 1st-round running back. There were reports that he was going to run a 4.3 at 220 pounds or whatever he is. So yeah, definitely has some instincts issues, and bringing him along slow might be better for his game anyway. So an interesting pick, and a guy that I kind of always look for, because I feel like could be a weapon in a backfield if you add him to the group that you have.
Just finishing up this draft, Mansoor Delane at pick 12. We traded back from 20 to 22 to pick up that extra third-round pick. We selected Dillon Thieneman, which, again, shocker that he was available. Kyle Lewis, the linebacker from Pittsburgh, at pick 86, and then rounding it out with Nick Singleton at 112. I mean, Landon, I know this is our draft, and we're always going to love whatever draft we did. But I got a feeling Cowboys Nation would be very happy with this one.
Oh yeah, I would think so. I mean, I think to luck out and to get Thienemann after a trade back, and then to get an extra pick and basically pick up a guy like Kyle Lewis for free, who I mean honestly can play linebacker, but he could also do some nickel overhang stuff. I mean, I think as well, like just a very versatile player. Now you have a very versatile, young, talented, sure tackling group of guys that I think really kind of is exactly the kind of shape of the defenses you're looking to have.
Yeah,
with this Christian Parker, move to this kind of multiple front.
Think about those first three picks: Delaine, Thienemann, Lewis. Those are all guys that can cover. All these guys can play in space. I think you instantly made your defense way more sound and way more versatile on the back end. You're still going to have to figure out the pass rush thing, and maybe you go out and make a trade. Maybe you send your future second-round pick to go get an edge rusher to round out that room. But, if we're leaving the draft, let's say they signed Nakobe Dean and they signed a middling defensive end prospect, this is a draft that I think you feel really good. Maybe not right away because defensive backs take a while, but by the time we get to Thanksgiving, feeling really good about where your defense is at.
But let's also not forget that Christian Parker did this exact thing before with Philadelphia. Took two young first round, they weren't both first round, but took two young defensive back, high ranked defensive backs, and were able to develop them very quickly and to the Eagles' great benefit. So certainly possible.
All right, that is it for today's show. We'd like to thank you for making Locked On Cowboys your first listen every single day. If you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On Cowboys ad-free, plus members-only Discord access, and so much more. Head over to lockedoncowboys.supercast.com to join the club. And for those of you on video, we can send you the first ever 24/7 national NBA YouTube channel. And on audio, make your second listen the Locked On NFL Draft podcast. Follow Landon on Twitter at McCoolBCB. I'm at Marcus_Mosher, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow.